Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and looky what we got here. Woo, this is exciting. We've got a letter from Lindsey Graham to the Honorable William P. Barr, Attorney General. So let's get into it. This was put out March 7th, so let's see what he has to say. Dear Attorney General Barr, through the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, Congress granted the executive the ability to seek classified warrants to conduct surveillance on Americans from a special secret court that meets behind closed doors. Given the nature of these warrants and the court that grants them, the public's confidence in the FISA process is based on assurances such as those set forth in the 2001 Woods procedures that FISA applications will undergo rigorous review before being submitted to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. That's the FISC, the FISC court. Only through strict adherence to procedures like those set forth in the Woods memo and production by the government to the FISC of all material and relevant facts can the public continue to have confidence in FISA. To that end, the committee is concerned that the Woods procedures and a full presentment of material and relevant facts may not have occurred with regard to the applications for FISA warrants for and the opening of the underlying investigations on Carter Page and other individuals associated with the presidential campaign of Donald Trump. Accordingly, the committee will continue to examine this Congress, as this committee and several other congressional committees did last Congress, potential abuse of the FISA and investigation initiation processes with regard to Carter Page and others associated with the Trump campaign. In order to aid the committee's examination of these matters, I request that the department provide the committee with the following documents by no later than March 21st, 2019. Setting a good deadline here. All documents and communications originally shared with the Gang of Eight in May 2018 related to the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. Now, one of the reasons for this is because the Democrats are claiming that everybody in the Gang of Eight was presented with the same information, or I believe James Comey or maybe Andrew McCabe said that. Somehow, they're supposed to all have had the same information, but Devin Nunes indicates that no, they didn't. So it's in question as to who got what at what time, who knew what information. The Woods file related to the application for and subsequent renewals of a FISA order authorizing surveillance on Carter Page. The term Woods file includes, but is not limited to, any document concerning or relating to any attempt to verify the accuracy of any alleged facts stated in the FISA applications for Mr. Page. Now, the Woods file is part of the Woods procedure that they have to go through in order to have all of the information they need, because when they go into a FISA court, the FISC, they are required to present both sides, because if there is any possible evidence that indicates that person should not be surveilled, they actually have to provide that. That's part of the Woods procedure. So they have to give both sides, because otherwise in this FISC, the FISA court, it's only one-sided, because that's all that they would be presenting, and that's just not right. So they are required by the Woods procedure to do that, to give both sides. And the problem was they didn't do this. That's why, leaving out the fact that the DNC paid for the dossier that was the basis of the FISA to surveil Carter Page, means that they violated the Woods procedure. So that's why it's so very important. And that's why they need this file, because they want to see if that file contained both sides of the issue. Did it contain the information showing that there was no reason to surveil Carter Page? It probably did not, but yet there are reasons, and there was legitimate evidence that they would have to ignore and that they should have presented to the FISA court, and they did not. All documents and communications referring or relating to efforts to verify the contents of the Steele dossier. The term Steele dossier includes, but is not limited to, a series of intelligence reports prepared by Christopher Steele that were transmitted to, among others, the department. All documents and communications referring or relating to the role or extent to which the Steele dossier factored into the Carter Page FISA application. All documents and communications referring or relating to Christopher Steele's contacts with members of the media and the reliability of the information provided directly or indirectly by Christopher Steele. And on that one, remember, Christopher Steele went to Yahoo News and told Yahoo News this information about the dossier. And then when Yahoo News wrote an article about it, then the FISA documents pointed at that as one of the reasons it was valid. I mean, they used it to validate the dossier. And it was only valid because the person who created the dossier in the first place is the person who turned around then and told Yahoo about it. So it really was circular. And if you've seen my video on Nancy Pelosi and the wrap-up smear, that's exactly what it is. You make up a lie, you tell it to the press prints it, then you point to the press and say, see, the press printed it, it must be true. So it's just a lie. And that's really what happened with the dossier. Anyway, let's go on. All documents and communications that govern the procedures, standards, rules, regulations, or policies that the department, including the Federal Bureau of Investigation, must follow in seeking a FISA warrant from the FISC. All documents and communications with the FISC referring and relating to any FISA applications associated with Carter Page or associated with Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. All FD 302s, now the 302s were the memorandums, the documents that the FBI would fill out after they did an interview with somebody. And so all FD 302s for Bruce Orr and any other individual at the department, the FBI, or elsewhere in the federal government who received information from individuals outside the department or the FBI that was used in the Carter Page FISA applications. All documents and communications referring or relating to defensive briefings provided or that were under consideration to be provided to the presidential campaigns of Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, or any other 2016 presidential candidate. If you have any questions about these requests, please have your staff contact Zachary Summers with majority staff on the committee. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter. Sincerely, Lindsey Graham. And he sent a copy to Dianne Feinstein and also Christopher Wray, who is our current head of the FBI. So this is what he's asking for. He wants all documents and communications. Now, the communications is an interesting thing because that would be like if they texted each other about it, or sent emails between, different accounts saying, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? This is going to bring out some pretty big things. I mean, this is like, wow, this is going to be stirring the hornet's nest, right? Oh, it's going to have a lot of stuff there. And the Woods procedures really is the heart of it. If you've been listening to Dan Bongino's podcast, you heard him talk about the Woods procedures. In fact, I was going to do a video on it about 2 weeks ago, I think, and then things got all busy and I kind of shelved it, I saved it, and then other things came up and I didn't get back to it. So this is something really important, and maybe I'll do one now about the Woods procedure because I do have several articles I'd like to bring out about it. But essentially, it is the procedures that they need to follow when they go to a FISA court, and it requires them to present both sides. So if there is any evidence that would exonerate the person, they have to tell the FISA court about that. So that is something as well that might happen. If they're bringing all that out, it's like, oh, if they violated the Woods procedures, which they did, it's going to be great. Oh, this is going to be so exciting. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I can hardly wait. So anyway, I know it sounds weird, but I have known about all this corruption for so long. I am just so ready for it to be out in the public so everybody knows what's going on. I know some people with the elder scam video were like, is that the biggest thing Barr has to do? He's got a lot on his plate, and I'm sure it's taken him a while to get up to speed on things because remember, he was a private citizen, so he did not have a lot of information that only an attorney general would know. And I'm sure that he's been trying to get up to speed on many of these subjects. But in the meantime, you have to understand that our Department of Justice does not just deal with this kind of stuff, which is very important, but it also deals with other things. And, protecting American citizens like the elderly, like it was talking about, that's an important part too. And so there are many important things that they are working on. I mean, if you go to the Department of Justice main site, you can see all the different kinds of things that they're working on. They're having a lot of major arrests for trafficking and for, drug trafficking, human trafficking, all of those kinds of things. They're having arrests for it. They're reestablishing the rule of law in our country. And so that requires them to have a lot of different activities that they're going on, a lot of different operations that they're working through. And so much is happening at the Department of Justice. It's not just focused on one or two things. And while this is very, very big and affects all of us, there are other things that they're doing as well. So keep that in mind. And it's going to be exciting to see what Lindsey Graham has for us here once he gets all this information, if he does. I think Barr is going to be providing a lot more information and documents than we have seen in the past. And if this stuff comes out, remember the FISA for Carter Page, we know that when Trump said he was going to declassify that, there were officials from 2 different countries that called him immediately and begged him not to release it. And you have to wonder, think this through. If this court is so secret that Americans don't know anything that's going on in it, why in the world, how in the world are officials from the UK and Australia going to know what went on inside that court? Why would they know what's under those redactions? We don't. It's not been made available to us, but they knew about it. And that should not be. Foreign officials should not know what's in our secret documents, in my opinion. And in this case, that should not have been known. But it was, and so when it's declassified, it's going to implicate them as well. So that's one of the big reasons why I think POTUS has been dragging his feet on it. It has technically been declassified. That was done on September 17th of 2018. But it's not been released yet because POTUS handed it over to Horowitz to go through and make sure that it was okay to put out into the public. Now, remember, here's something that I think people are forgetting. POTUS knows what's under those redactions. So when he's talking, when he's putting out tweets and things, remember, he knows what's there. So I think when he says things, we need to listen carefully because I think he's trying to give us as much truth as he can without any violations. So pay very careful attention when he is tweeting things or when he's speaking. Sometimes when he's speaking off the cuff, he lets some things slip. So listen carefully to him because remember, he knows what's under that. He's read it. He has read the entire FISA application. He knows what's there. He knows what's in all the documents he declassified. And I think sometimes people forget that. It's like you're saying Trump is wrong on these things, or you're saying he doesn't know what he's talking about, yet he's read the whole documents. So he knows. And you haven't. So who am I going to listen to? I'm going to listen to our POTUS. Anyway, so that's what I've got for you, and I hope you enjoyed this. We'll get it out there, spread the news about this because the fireworks are about ready to begin. This is going to be awesome. When this stuff comes out, there's not going to be any denial. This is going to put some people behind bars. It just is because they violated the Woods procedures. And we know that they trumped up charges to try to get Carter Page. And when they got this FISA on Carter Page, then they could do 2 hops, as Bongino always says, 2 hops. So you could surveil everybody that Carter Page was talking to and then everyone they talked to. So it wouldn't matter if Carter Page never talked to Trump as long as someone Carter Page talked to did. And that's how they wanted to get to Trump. So this is really starting the fireworks, folks. Woo, I'm excited to see this. Let's go. You go, Lindsey Graham. And I never ever thought I'd be cheering Lindsey Graham on. I mean, seriously. Oh, but I'm so glad, and I hope he really takes him on. I think he will. I think he's got an anger behind him at this injustice that's been going on. He knows what's been going on too. So it's going to be an interesting time. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.